Hello everyone, welcome to the second devlog of Submerged Scoundrels, my submarine pirate game that I'm currently making in Roblox. So last week we saw on the first devlog I set up a very simple basic island and a very simple submarine, and I got that submarine to the point where you could move it back and forth with a throttle and then change its direction. And that was all we had in Submerged Scoundrels at that point. I've been very busy this past week. If you want to see the day-to-day progress, I highly recommend going to either my TikTok account or watching my YouTube shorts. On there, I will post about daily updates about what I'm doing to the game. But I've gotten a lot done in this past week, and I'm super excited to share with you guys what I've gotten done and what I'm planning to do in the next week or two. The first thing I got started working on was finishing the submarine movement enough to get the concept done and enough to get an actual prototype working. And that means that I got the depth working. That was the last thing I needed for the submarine movement. So you can now move your submarine up and down and actually dive the submarine. A key features of a submarine is to go underwater, and we now have that working inside of Submerged Scoundrels. So the submarine, for all intensive purposes, movement system is done. And with that, meaning we can now play with the submarine as a concept, we can add things to it. And that's kind of where I expanded for the rest of the week. The next thing I did is I added a user interface to the submarine, and I think it's really cool. I tried at first, I wanted a lot of features on it. I wanted to show a lot of things. And one of the things that I found when doing this was that there's just not a need for that. When I'm thinking about Sea of Thieves and I'm thinking about other games where I'm playing in a vehicle or it's centered around one sort of vehicle, there's not a lot of information. When you're piloting a ship in Sea of Thieves, you don't need a massive user interface. You don't get a lot of information from the game. And I'm not the best at graphical design, or I have no artistic skills. So I decided to put more time and effort into the coding and to making a more interactive user interface that shows the key details, but is a lot more simplistic and allows you to see a lot more of the screen. And with that, this is what the user interface looks like right now. We have the name at the top, whatever the name of the ship is, and I'll talk about that feature later, but you can rename your vessel. And then you have your health and your fuel at the bottom, both of which are updated in real time, along with a yoke in the center of the screen that will move whenever you move your submarine around. So I really like what I have so far. I think it's a great way to start feeling that this is actually a game, and it was great early in the week to get it done. And it really feels like when you're driving the submarine, things are actually happening and you're actually controlling it. So I'm really happy with the progress that's made. Along with that, I was able, part of the health system that I added was when the submarine reaches zero health, it will explode and shatter everywhere. And that's a really cool feature that I implemented. And it's something I had no idea how I was going to do it. But as I was making the movement system, I was learning about how different things in Roblox interact. And at first, I wanted to make a physics based movement system, but that wouldn't work out because how the model was set up, everything is kind of anchored in place, and when you have an anchored part in Roblox, you can't apply physics to it. And so when I was thinking about how I wanted to destroy the submarine, I went back to that concept of anchoring. And so basically all this is the script will loop through every single object inside of the submarine model and just set anchor to false, and then all the physics are applied to it, so all the water movements, all the mechanics that Roblox automatically has. So all these parts go flying everywhere. And I really like how it creates that effect of the submarine is just completely gone, completely dismantled, and blew up into a million pieces, basically. So I'm really happy with how that turned out. And I also have a fully working fuel system. Based on how fast you're going, you will lose more fuel quicker. And with that, the next feature I want to highlight that I added is the fuel shop that allows you to actually refuel your vessel. So that's really cool because it's the first NPC I made in this game, in Roblox in general. So I got to learn how to interact and build interactive NPCs that have a menu come up with them. And so I made a system that allows you to refill your specific submarine. And with that, I also added the first economy system to the game. And I'm going to be using gold because I feel like that's, even though it's a more modern pirate game, that's the classic pirate thing to use is gold. And so I started playing with the Roblox leaderboard values and figuring out how to set those up so that you can see how much gold you have and what other players have. And so this is the first shop and the first really interactive NPC that I added, and I really like it. the second day of working on it, I added more objects to the shop and I made it more of an actual shop rather than just the one NPC. But I'm really happy with how this turned out, and I'm really happy to have learned how the leader stat values work in Roblox along with that. And then another really cool feature that I added just yesterday, and the last feature of the week, is the ownership and renaming feature. So one of the things I had to focus on is that there's going to be, I don't know the exact number, but maybe 6 to 8 submarines and players in a server at any time. So when we're doing things like refueling or renaming the submarines, we have to make sure that we're targeting the specific submarine for that specific player. So I made a whole ownership system behind the scene that allows a submarine to know who owns it and who controls it, and then to listen for those specific events like renaming and refueling. And then I added the renaming system where the player has the ability to rename the vessel to whatever they want. I'm thinking of having a system set up where you can name it whatever you want for free. However, you have to keep the first three initials SAS, Scoundrels Association ship. However, I'm thinking about adding maybe a monetized thing where you can remove those first three letters and add your three letters like USS or something like that to the front of your submarine, or make it some sort of group faction name or whatever you would like to do as a feature that I can monetize off of, but that again doesn't affect the gameplay, because that's what I'm really focused on, is being able to monetize some features but not affecting key gameplay or making this game a pay to win game at all. So I'm really happy with the progress that has been made this week. It's really starting to feel like an actual game. I've have a lot of things set up, the vehicle set up, that make it feel like you can actually play it and you can actually have fun. And looking at the Trello board for this game and what I'm looking for the alpha release, the first thing is submarine steering, torpedoes, oxygen, and fueling. And basically, that tab is basically saying that the submarine is done. And we have about half of that done right now. We have the submarine steering and the fueling completely done, and I'm looking at getting the torpedoes and the oxygen systems set up very soon. And as we look kind of more down that list, the Scoundrels Association outpost is something that kind of gets built up over time. So that includes the fuel shop along with the submarine yard. That also includes the fuel shop as well. So checking off little things in these items and getting it closer to where hopefully I can start having people testing it soon. And so I'm really happy with the progress I've made so far in this week. Again, if you're interested in seeing daily updates, please go follow my TikTok account or subscribe to my channel here and view my YouTube shorts, whichever works best for you and whichever platform you like. I post to them each the exact same videos, and I try to post daily updates on what I've done and what features I've implemented for that day. And that way I'm continuing to work and I'm able to market the game as well. So what I'm looking forward to next week and developing next week is I want to get those torpedoes done. I think it would be really cool to get an actual weapon system into the game so that the submarine can actually be playable with, and then getting the oxygen system done as well to kind of add that difficulty into the game so that it feels like you're actually playing and you're not just cheating the game, because one of the key parts of a submarine is managing your oxygen levels. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. And then once those features are done, we can start looking at the missions, starting to set up those mission types. And I'm really excited for what next week is going to hold. I think it's going to really expand on the basic features that I've made this week. A lot of the features I made this week were foundation, behind the scenes things, and a lot of the features I plan on making next week bring out those features and bring them to the full screen. So I'm really excited for that. I'm really excited to be sharing these videos and TikToks with you guys. Please, if you're interested, subscribe to my channel to see the next devlogs. I'm going to try and pump these out every single week, detailing the features that I've done and what features I want to add in the next week. So I'm really excited for this game. There's a lot of great people on TikTok who have been supporting it. I'm loving the comments on the shorts and the TikToks. They're keeping me motivated, and I'm really excited for this game, and I hope you guys are too. See you next time. Bye.